"Save us," the Omega begged the wolf, and it answered, but the rescue demanded a price. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get back to the main character. Maya knelt by the edge of the river, the cold water lapping against her fingertips as she whispered her plea into the wind. She had heard the rumors for years, but this time, the need for help was real. Her pack had been attacked, and their numbers were dwindling. The once powerful alpha wolves had been defeated, their strength fading as a mysterious force tore through the forest. Maya, the Omega of the pack, had been left behind, powerless, weak, and ignored. But today, her only hope rested in the legends of the ancient wolves, the ones who could shift into the form of mighty beasts. Her pack had always mocked her for being unable to shift. They thought of her as nothing more than a healer, a weakling. She had never been able to live up to the expectations of an Omega, the one meant to bear the future of the pack. But now, with her pack on the brink of extinction, she had no choice but to call upon the old magic. "Save us," she whispered into the wind, her voice trembling as it mixed with the rustling leaves. As if in answer to her prayer, a massive shadow appeared in the distance. At first, it seemed like a trick of the light, but the shadow grew larger, taking form as it approached her. Her heart raced in her chest as she caught sight of the creature, an enormous wolf, its fur dark as the night sky, with eyes that gleamed like silver. Maya froze, her breath caught in her throat. The wolf's eyes locked with hers, and for a brief moment, time seemed to stop. This was no ordinary wolf. It was a creature of legend, the one she had heard stories about as a child. A wolf that could shift into a man. A king among wolves. The wolf stepped closer, its massive form towering over her. Maya's legs trembled, but she didn't move. The wolf's gaze softened as it neared, and for a second, she swore she saw something familiar in those eyes. The creature lowered its head slightly, as if acknowledging her presence. And then, to her surprise, it spoke. "You called me." The deep voice rumbled, resonating through her very soul. Maya nodded, her words caught in her throat. "Please save us. My pack." Her voice trailed off, choked by the weight of her desperation. The wolf's eyes darkened, and he took a step back. "To save them, there is a price," he said, his voice colder now. Maya swallowed hard, fear gripping her heart. "A price?" she whispered, barely able to believe what she was hearing. The wolf nodded slowly, his form shifting slightly, as if to reveal something more beneath the surface. "You must accept what comes, Maya," he continued, his voice still deep, yet filled with something she couldn't quite place. "There is a bond between us, a connection that must be forged." Maya felt her heart race again. She had heard the tales of the bond between Alpha and Omega, a powerful force that could shape the fate of entire packs. But she had never imagined she would be the one to form such a bond, especially not with a creature so powerful. What do you mean?" she asked, her voice trembling. The wolf's form began to blur, shifting into something far more human. The figure that emerged before her was tall, broad-shouldered, and undeniably regal. His eyes still glowed with that silver intensity, and his expression was one of both power and sadness. "I am Leo Thorn," he said, his voice now carrying the weight of a king. "And you, Maya, have just saved me from my curse." Maya could barely comprehend what was happening. The powerful alpha wolf before her had been cursed, and now she had somehow played a part in freeing him. But what did this mean for her? What was the price she had to pay for this rescue? Leo's gaze softened, and he stepped closer, his presence overwhelming. "The price is simple," he said. "You must become my mate." Maya's heart stopped. The weight of his words hit her like a wave. She had just saved him, but now? She was bound to him, tied to a destiny she could never have imagined. What would this mean for her future, for her pack? Only time would tell, but one thing was certain. Everything was about to change. The world around Maya felt like it had been flipped upside down. Her legs still trembled as she stood in front of Leo, the Alpha King, whose presence was both terrifying and comforting all at once. She had healed him, and in return, he had asked for something she had never expected, a bond. Become my mate. The words echoed in her mind, and she felt her heartbeat quicken. She had come here to save her pack, to do something. Anything. To stop the destruction. But now she was standing at the crossroads of a destiny she had never imagined for herself. She had only been an Omega, the weakest of the pack, someone meant to serve. How could she possibly be worthy of such a powerful creature? A king, no less. Maya struggled to find the words. Her mind was a whirlwind of confusion, and yet, deep down, a strange feeling of peace washed over her. Leo was not just any alpha. He was the one that could bring balance to her world, to her life. I don't know, Maya whispered, her voice barely audible as she stared into his eyes, which still held that haunting silver glow. Leo didn't seem surprised by her hesitation. Instead, his expression softened, and he stepped closer to her, the tension in the air palpable. He was still a king, still the ruler of many, yet in this moment, there was something vulnerable in the way he looked at her. You don't have to decide now, he said, his voice low and steady. But know this, there is no going back once the bond is formed. If you agree, everything will change. You'll be my Luna, my equal. The future of our packs will be intertwined. Maya's heart skipped a beat. The future of their packs? She wasn't even sure she could manage to save her own, let alone join forces with another. But something in Leo's words made her want to believe in the possibility of change. His curse had kept him bound to the shadows, and perhaps, just perhaps, their fates were meant to be connected. I understand, Maya finally said, her voice stronger now, as if the weight of her decision had begun to settle. But what if I fail? What if I'm not what you need? Leo shook his head, the softest smile tugging at his lips. Maya, you've already done what no one else could do. You healed me, and you didn't hesitate when I needed you most. That's more than enough. His words, filled with so much sincerity, made her heart swell. She had never felt so seen, so appreciated. Maybe, just maybe, this was her chance to have a place in this world, to be more than just the overlooked healer. Then what happens now? Maya asked, the uncertainty in her voice replaced by a sense of cautious hope. Leo stepped even closer, his presence now overwhelming, but in a way that felt safe. Now, we begin the ceremony, he said, his voice laced with authority. But first, you must know that once we accept this bond, it will be a bond of life and death. We will be tied together, bound by fate. Maya took a deep breath. This was real. This was happening. She had no idea what the future held, but she knew one thing for sure. She would not turn away from this. Not now. Not when the stakes were so high. She looked up at Leo, his towering figure casting a shadow over her, and nodded. I accept, she whispered. Leo's eyes softened, and for the first time since she had met him, she saw the full weight of his emotions. He wasn't just an alpha king anymore. He was a man, someone who had suffered, just as she had. Then we are one, he said, his voice filled with finality and a deep sense of connection. The air between them seemed to shimmer, and Maya felt a pull, deep inside her chest. It was like a force beyond their control was drawing them together, sealing the deal. As their hands met, Maya felt the bond snap into place, and a rush of power surged through her, filling her with a sense of purpose she had never known before. The price of her rescue had been steep, but in this moment, she understood what it meant. She was no longer just Maya, the weak Omega. She was now bound to Leo, the Alpha King, and together, they would change the course of their fates. The days following the bond ceremony were filled with strange new beginnings for Maya. She had never known the weight of a decision like this before, and as the days passed, she found herself growing accustomed to the presence of Leo, the Alpha King, now by her side. Though they had formed the bond, Maya could not shake the feeling of uncertainty that clung to her like a shadow. What did it mean to truly be the Luna of an Alpha King? What did this bond entail? She had known Leo only as the beast in the forest, a figure of power and mystery, but now, in the light of day, she saw a man struggling with burdens greater than she could ever imagine. The weight of the crown, the responsibility of leadership, it all seemed to rest on his shoulders. As Maya walked through the corridors of his grand palace, her heart thudded in her chest. The palace was not what she had expected. It was vast, yes, but there was an oppressive quietness that clung to the stone walls, as if the weight of past decisions, of battles fought and lost, hung heavily in the air. Leo had shown her to a room that would be hers, with the finest silks and the most luxurious furnishings, but it all felt so foreign. She had never wanted luxury, only peace, and yet, here she was, the Luna of the Alpha King. The first few nights were filled with silence. Maya would lie awake, listening to the howls of wolves in the distance, wondering if her pack was out there somewhere, suffering just as they had before. But with every passing day, Leo's presence became less like a burden and more like a comfort. He would visit her in the mornings, his gaze softening when he saw her. "How are you feeling today?" he would ask, his voice filled with a tenderness that Maya had not expected from the king who ruled with such authority. She would smile weakly, nodding. "Better. Still not used to all of this." Leo would smile back, a rare, fleeting expression that softened his hard edges. "It will take time," he would reassure her. "But you will find your place here. We will find our place together." As the days wore on, Maya found herself stepping more into her role as Luna, though it was not without its struggles. She attended council meetings with Leo, listened to the concerns of the pack, and offered her thoughts when asked. Despite the respect that was given to her position, she could not forget the Omega she had once been, the one who had been scorned and overlooked. But as she sat by Leo's side, she could feel a change within her. The bond that had been forged between them was not just one of duty or power. It was something deeper, something that tied them together in a way that was hard to explain. She could feel his emotions, his thoughts, as though they were her own, and in return, he seemed to feel hers. It was a connection unlike anything she had ever known. But with that connection came a sense of vulnerability. Leo's past was not an easy one. He had been cursed, trapped in the form of a wolf for years, and though the curse had been lifted, the scars it had left behind ran deep. Maya had seen the darkness in his eyes when he spoke of his past, the loneliness that still haunted him. "I know you carry a heavy burden," Maya said one night as they sat together by the fire. "But you are not alone. I am here, Leo. I'll stand by you, no matter what." Leo's gaze softened as he looked at her, and for the first time since their bond had been formed, he seemed to truly believe her words. "Thank you, Maya," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know what I would do without you." As Maya leaned in closer to him, she realized that this bond, this connection, was not just about power or fate. It was about love, about two souls finding each other in the darkness and choosing to face the world together. She had once been a healer, a simple Omega, but now, she was something more. She was the Luna of the Alpha King, and together, they would change the course of their lives, and their packs, forever. As the days passed, Maya found herself slowly adjusting to the life she had once thought was beyond her reach. She had become the Luna of Leo Thorne, the Alpha King, and though the responsibilities weighed heavily on her shoulders, there was a growing sense of fulfillment in the work she was doing. The palace was a place of power, but also one of peace when she was with Leo. He had shown her kindness, and with each passing day, she realized that she was beginning to care for him in ways that went beyond the bond they shared. The quiet moments, when they would sit together, simply sharing the stillness of the evening, were the ones she cherished the most. Leo had many burdens to bear, the weight of the crown, the politics of the packs, and the shadow of his past, but when he was with her, he seemed to find some solace. Maya, on the other hand, had never expected to find herself in a position of such power. As Luna, she was expected to attend meetings, make decisions, and be a voice of guidance for the pack. But the more she did, the more she felt the growing confidence in her own abilities. She had always been told she was weak, but now, she stood beside Leo as an equal, helping him lead, helping him heal. Yet, despite the strides she had made, there were still moments when the weight of her new life felt too much to bear. She often found herself standing by the window of their chamber, staring out at the vast expanse of land that stretched beyond the palace walls, thinking of the pack she had left behind. She had not seen them since that fateful night, and the guilt gnawed at her, a constant reminder of the price she had paid for this new life. One evening, as she stood there lost in thought, Leo appeared beside her, his presence as solid as the earth beneath them. "Maya," he said softly, his voice carrying the warmth that always seemed to reach her heart. "You don't have to carry this burden alone." She turned to face him, her heart tightening as she met his gaze. There was always something in his eyes, something that spoke of understanding, of pain, but also of a deep, abiding love that she had not yet fully allowed herself to accept. "I'm not sure I can do this," she admitted, her voice barely a whisper. "I don't know if I can be the Luna you need." Leo reached out, his hand gently cupping her face. "You are more than enough, Maya," he said, his voice firm but gentle. "You've already done what no one else could. You've given me peace. You've given our packs hope. What more could I ask for?" Maya felt the weight of his words settle in her chest, and for the first time in a long while, she allowed herself to believe them. She had always been afraid of not being enough, of not measuring up to the expectations others had of her. But standing here, with Leo, she realized that perhaps she had been wrong all along. Perhaps she was enough, just as she was. The days turned into weeks, and Maya's place in the palace grew stronger. She and Leo continued to work together, leading their packs toward a future of peace and prosperity. But there were still challenges ahead. There were whispers from other alphas, from those who did not understand the bond between Maya and Leo, and from those who believed Maya was nothing more than a pawn in Leo's game. It was a constant struggle, but Maya no longer felt alone in it. She had Leo by her side, and with each passing day, the connection between them deepened. It was not just the bond of an alpha and his Luna. It was something more. It was a partnership, a union of two souls who had been brought together by fate. Maya knew there would be more obstacles to face, more struggles to overcome, but she was no longer afraid. She was ready to fight for Leo, ready to fight for their pack, ready to fight for the future they were building together. As the moonlight bathed the palace grounds in a silvery glow, Maya stood by the window of her chambers, gazing out into the night. She had grown accustomed to the routine of her new life as Leo's Luna, yet there was a lingering unease that refused to fade. Despite the growing bond between them, there were moments when doubt crept into her heart. She had never imagined she would be in such a position of power, nor had she ever expected that the quiet healer she had once been would now have such a significant role in the fate of their packs. Leo, ever the leader, was both an anchor and a source of her uncertainties. His strength and resolve had never wavered, but Maya could see the toll the burdens of leadership took on him. His past, haunted by the curse that had trapped him in the form of a wolf, still loomed over him, though he rarely spoke of it. Yet, there were moments when the shadows in his eyes would deepen, and Maya could feel the weight of his struggles, the things he carried alone. One evening, after a long council meeting, Maya found herself alone in the garden, the cool night air brushing against her skin. She had always found solace in nature, and tonight, she needed it more than ever. Her thoughts were interrupted by the soft rustling of footsteps behind her. She turned, and there he was, Leo, his presence commanding, but his face softened in the quiet of the night. "Maya," he called softly, his voice carrying a hint of concern. "Are you all right?" She smiled faintly, though the weight of her emotions still lingered. "I'm fine. Just needed some time to think." Leo stepped closer, his gaze steady and warm. "You don't have to carry all of this on your own, you know." Maya shook her head, her fingers gently brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "I know, but sometimes I feel like I'm not enough. I'm not like you, Leo. I don't have the same strength you do." Leo reached out, his hand gently cupping her chin, lifting her gaze to meet his. "Maya, you are everything I need. You've been by my side since the very beginning, and that's more than I could have ever asked for. You've shown me a strength I didn't know existed." Maya looked into his eyes, and for the first time in a long while, she allowed herself to believe his words. She wasn't just the Omega anymore, not just the healer she had been. She was more than that. She was Leo's equal, his partner. And together, they could face whatever challenges lay ahead. The silence between them was comfortable now, filled with understanding and unspoken emotions. Leo's hand slid from her chin to gently rest on her shoulder, grounding her in this moment of peace. "We'll face everything together," he said, his voice low and reassuring. Maya nodded, a sense of calm settling over her. The doubt that had plagued her heart seemed to lessen, replaced by a newfound confidence in herself and the path they were walking together. The journey ahead was still uncertain, filled with obstacles they had yet to face. But as she stood there, beside Leo, Maya knew she was no longer afraid. She had found her place, not just as the Luna of an alpha king, but as a woman capable of standing beside the man she loved, ready to face whatever came their way. The future was theirs to shape, together. And in that quiet moment, as the stars above them twinkled brightly in the vast sky, Maya knew that no matter what trials awaited, they would be stronger for having each other. The weeks that followed were filled with moments of growth for Maya and Leo. Together, they faced the challenges of leadership, the intricacies of managing a kingdom, and the ever-present whispers of the pack. Though Maya had grown more confident in her role as Luna, there were still moments when the weight of responsibility felt too heavy. Yet, with Leo by her side, she found solace. The more time they spent together, the more their bond deepened, transforming from a connection of necessity to one of true affection. It was in the quiet moments, when the palace had settled for the night, that Maya truly understood the depth of their union. Leo would often find her by the window, looking out at the vast expanse of the land they now ruled together. He would quietly approach, his presence a comforting force, and place a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You're thinking again," he would say, his voice soft but knowing. Maya would turn to him, offering a small smile. "Just wondering what's next," she would reply, her gaze lingering on the moonlit horizon. Leo would laugh quietly, pulling her into his arms. "Whatever comes next, we'll face it together." Maya would rest her head against his chest, the steady rhythm of his heartbeat grounding her. It was in those moments that she realized how far they had come. She had once been the rejected Omega, the healer no one believed in. Now, she was the Luna of an Alpha King, standing beside the most powerful man she had ever known. The journey had not been easy, but it had shaped her into someone stronger, someone who knew her worth. But even as their bond grew stronger, new challenges began to emerge. There were still factions within the pack who questioned Maya's place as Luna. They saw her as nothing more than a healer, a weak Omega who had no place leading alongside an Alpha King. The whispers reached Maya's ears, and though she tried to ignore them, the doubts they planted lingered. She often found herself questioning if she truly belonged in this role, or if she was just a pawn in Leo's world. One evening, as Maya and Leo sat together in the council hall, discussing matters of the pack, the tension in the room was palpable. The alphas and betas present were discussing strategies for the upcoming season, but Maya couldn't help but feel the cold eyes of the council members on her. She felt their judgment, their quiet disdain for the Omega who had somehow found herself at the heart of the pack's future. Leo noticed her discomfort, his sharp gaze sweeping the room before settling on her. "Maya," he said, his voice calm but commanding. "Your thoughts?" Maya hesitated, then spoke, her voice steady despite the nerves she felt. "I believe we need to focus on strengthening the alliances with neighboring packs. We've made great strides in the past few months, but now we must solidify our position." Her words, though simple, were met with silence. She could feel the weight of their skepticism. But Leo, ever the supportive alpha, nodded approvingly. "Well said," he remarked, his approval a shield against their judgment. As the meeting continued, Maya found herself growing more confident. She realized that she was not just a healer or a rejected Omega. She was the Luna, and she had earned her place by Leo's side. She was no longer just a passive observer of the pack's fate. She was a leader, and her voice mattered. Later that night, after the council had disbanded, Maya and Leo walked through the palace gardens. The stars above shone brightly, their light reflected in the calm waters of the fountain. Leo looked at Maya, his expression softened by the quiet of the night. "You were perfect tonight," he said, his voice low and sincere. Maya smiled, though her heart still carried the weight of the doubts she had felt earlier. "I don't know if I can ever be perfect," she replied quietly. Leo stopped, gently taking her hand in his. "You are more than enough, Maya. You always have been." Maya looked into his eyes, and in that moment, she realized that no matter what challenges lay ahead, she was no longer alone. With Leo by her side, they could face anything. Together, they were unstoppable. The days continued to blur together for Maya and Leo. The bond between them had grown stronger, and with each passing day, Maya felt more at home in the palace. Yet, despite the comfort she found in their connection, the challenges of leadership still loomed over her. As Luna, her responsibilities were far from easy. She was no longer just the healer, the quiet Omega who had been cast aside. She was now expected to lead alongside Leo, guiding their pack through the trials they faced. It was a weight that often left her feeling both empowered and overwhelmed. One evening, after a long day of managing matters of the pack, Maya found herself walking alone through the palace gardens. The moon hung low in the sky, casting a soft glow over the flowers and trees. She had always found peace here, in the stillness of nature, away from the pressures of court life. As she walked, her thoughts drifted to her family. Her old pack, the one she had left behind, still weighed heavily on her heart. They had always been a part of her, even if they had never truly accepted her. She missed them, the simplicity of her old life, and the sense of belonging she had once known. Maya, the voice was familiar, soothing, and it brought her back to the present. She turned to see Leo approaching, his tall figure framed by the moonlight. He looked at her with an expression that was both concerned and tender. "You've been quiet tonight. Is something on your mind?" Maya hesitated, then nodded slowly. "I was just thinking about home," she admitted. "I miss my old pack. I miss the simplicity of it all." Leo stepped closer, his presence warm and reassuring. "I understand," he said quietly. "But you've created something new here. Something stronger. Your home, Maya, is with me now. With us." She looked up at him, her heart swelling with gratitude. She had never imagined she could feel so connected to someone, so at peace in the face of all the challenges they faced. "I'm trying," she whispered. "But sometimes it feels like I'm not doing enough." Leo reached out, gently cupping her face in his hands. His touch was both gentle and firm, grounding her in the moment. "You're doing more than enough, Maya. You've already proven that. You've stood by me, and you've given your heart to this pack. You've brought us all together." Maya's heart fluttered at his words. She had always doubted herself, always questioned her worth. But with Leo, she felt seen, valued, and loved in ways she had never known. "I don't want to fail you," she confessed softly. "I don't want to fail our pack." Leo's eyes softened as he looked at her, his hand still resting gently on her cheek. "You won't fail us," he said, his voice filled with certainty. "You are not alone in this, Maya. We are in this together. You and me, as equals. I trust you with my heart, and I trust you with our future." Maya felt the weight of his words settle in her chest. For so long, she had carried the burden of doubt, of feeling like she wasn't enough. But now, standing here with Leo, she realized that she didn't have to carry it alone. They were a team, and together, they would face whatever came their way. As the night grew colder, Leo pulled her into his arms, holding her close as the moonlight bathed them in its soft glow. Maya closed her eyes, allowing herself to savor the moment, knowing that whatever challenges lay ahead, she and Leo would face them side by side. The future was uncertain, but with Leo by her side, Maya knew she was no longer afraid. Together, they would build a new world, one where they could stand strong, united by love and the bond they shared. The days that followed were filled with a quiet sense of change for both Maya and Leo. Their bond, once born out of necessity, had transformed into something deeper, something that neither of them had expected. Maya had become more confident in her role as Luna, but with that confidence came new challenges. As the leader of their pack, there were always decisions to be made, always responsibilities to bear. Yet, despite the weight of her duties, she found peace in knowing that Leo was always by her side. One evening, after a particularly long day of meetings and discussions with the pack council, Maya found herself walking through the palace gardens once more. The night air was cool, the sound of the leaves rustling gently in the breeze. As she walked, her thoughts drifted to the future they were building together. But the path ahead was not without its obstacles. Other packs, some of them powerful, had begun to take notice of Leo's growing strength, and whispers of alliances and rivalries filled the air. Maya knew that their position as rulers was fragile. One wrong move, one misplaced word, and everything could fall apart. "Maya," the familiar voice of Leo broke through her thoughts. She turned to find him approaching, his presence as commanding as ever. "I thought I might find you here." She smiled softly. "I needed a moment to think. There's so much to consider." Leo stepped closer, his gaze softening as he looked at her. "I know," he said, "but we will face it together, just like we always have." Maya's heart fluttered at his words. She had always been afraid of the unknown, afraid of failing, but with Leo by her side, she felt like she could take on anything. The uncertainty of their future didn't seem so daunting when he was with her. Do you ever worry? Maya asked quietly. About everything that's coming? About our future? Leo reached out, gently taking her hand in his. Of course I worry, he admitted. But I know that as long as we have each other, there's nothing we can't overcome. I trust you, Maya, more than anyone. His words, so simple yet so profound, filled her with warmth. She realized that Leo wasn't just her mate. He was her partner in every sense of the word. Together, they had the strength to face whatever challenges lay ahead. I'm afraid too, Maya confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. Afraid of failing. Afraid of not being enough. Leo's eyes softened, and he gently pulled her into his embrace. Maya, you are more than enough. You've already proven that. You've brought our packs together, and you've given me strength in ways I never thought possible. We are stronger because of you. Maya closed her eyes, feeling the steady rhythm of his heartbeat against her cheek. In that moment, she realized that she no longer needed to fear the future. She no longer needed to question her place by Leo's side. They were a team, bound not only by fate, but by love. As the days passed, Maya's confidence continued to grow. She attended more council meetings, made more decisions, and began to see herself not just as Leo's Luna, but as a leader in her own right. The pack respected her, and even those who had once doubted her now looked to her for guidance. Leo continued to be her rock, offering support and encouragement whenever she needed it. But he also gave her the space to grow, to find her own voice as a leader. One evening, as they sat together by the fireplace, Leo looked at her with pride in his eyes. I knew from the moment we met that you were destined for greatness, he said softly. Maya met his gaze, her heart full. I didn't know it then, she admitted. But now, I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Leo smiled, reaching out to take her hand. We both are. Together. As the fire crackled in the hearth, Maya knew that no matter what came their way, she and Leo would face it together. Their love had grown stronger, their bond deeper, and with each passing day, they were more united than ever. The future was still uncertain, but with Leo by her side, Maya was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As the days passed, Maya and Leo's bond grew stronger, their love and partnership a beacon of hope for their pack. The challenges they faced were far from over, but together, they had managed to navigate through them with courage and determination. Maya had long since shed the doubts that had once plagued her. She no longer saw herself as the weak Omega from her past, but as the Luna of the Alpha King, a leader in her own right. Leo had always believed in her, and now, she believed in herself too. The palace had become a place of peace, where they could work side by side, making decisions for the future of their people. Yet, as they sat together one evening, a new challenge arose, one that neither of them had expected. News had come from the neighboring packs, and it was not what they had hoped for. A coalition of powerful alphas, led by the ambitious and calculating alpha of the Shadow Pack, had begun to make moves that threatened to destabilize the delicate peace Leo and Maya had worked so hard to build. The alpha of the Shadow Pack, known for his ruthlessness, had long coveted the power that Leo now held. His alliance with other rival alphas was a clear challenge to Leo's reign. Maya could see the tension in Leo's eyes as he read the letters, the weight of the situation pressing on his shoulders. He had always been a man of action, and the thought of losing the peace they had fought so hard to achieve troubled him. What do we do now? Maya asked, her voice steady, though her heart raced with uncertainty. Leo's gaze met hers, and for a moment, the weight of their shared responsibilities hung in the air between them. We do what we've always done, he said, his voice calm but filled with determination. We stand together. We fight for what is ours. Maya nodded, feeling the strength of his words resonate within her. She had learned that their love, their bond, was their greatest strength. With Leo by her side, she knew there was nothing they couldn't face. But we won't fight alone, Maya said, her voice growing stronger. We will unite the packs, just like we united our own. Leo looked at her, his eyes softening with pride. That's the strength I need. Together, we will make sure that no one can threaten the future we've built. As the days passed, Maya and Leo worked tirelessly to prepare for the challenges ahead. They met with the leaders of the other packs, forging alliances and securing their position. Maya played a crucial role in these negotiations, her empathy and understanding of the pack's needs giving her the ability to connect with others in ways Leo couldn't. Slowly, but surely, the pack leaders began to see her for what she truly was. Not just Leo's Luna, but a leader in her own right. The alliance they had worked for was beginning to take shape, but just as they thought they had turned the tide, the Shadow Pack made its move. In the dead of night, a group of rogue wolves, led by the alpha of the Shadow Pack, attacked one of their border territories, hoping to provoke a war. Maya stood beside Leo, her heart pounding in her chest. She knew that this was a test, one that would decide the future of their reign. But she also knew that they were ready. The love and trust they shared had made them stronger than ever. As the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, Leo turned to Maya, his gaze intense but filled with quiet confidence. "We're not backing down," he said, his voice unwavering. Maya's heart surged with pride as she stood beside him. "No," she replied, her voice steady. "We're not." Together, they faced the challenge ahead, united as one. And with each step they took, they knew they were not only fighting for their future, but for the future of their people. In that moment, Maya realized that the journey they had started together was just the beginning. With Leo by her side, they would face whatever came next, stronger than ever. The Alpha King and his Luna, bound by fate, love, and a shared vision for the future.